I never thought I'd bury my brother's secrets deeper than he buried mine. But when he laughed in my face over those goddamn business cards, calling them Lila's little lemonade stand for grown-ups, I knew I'd have to dig my own grave first to claw my way out. That night, as the rain hammered the tin roof of our family's old Queens duplex, like it was trying to wash away the sins we'd both inherited from Dad, I slipped into his room and found the flash drive he'd hidden under his mattress, blueprints for my app. The one I'd poured 3 years of sweat into while he partied his way through NYU on my tuition money. And the kicker? Forged emails pinning the whole embezzlement scam on me, the one that got Dad's construction firm seized by the feds when I was just 18, fresh out of high school, taking the fall so he could skate free with a slap on the wrist. It started back in 2018, the summer humidity clinging to Brooklyn like a bad hangover. I was 25, scraping by as a freelance coder in a shared WeWork space that smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams, while my brother, Ethan, was the golden boy, charismatic, quick with a grin that could charm a nun out of her habit, and already climbing the ladder at Apex Dynamics, some mid-tier tech firm in Midtown that specialized in supply chain software. Our folks were gone by then. Mom to cancer when I was 12, Dad to a mysterious overdose 2 years later that the coroner called accidental but everyone in the neighborhood whispered was anything but. Ethan and I had raised each other after that, or so I told myself. I handled the bills, the late-night ER runs when he'd come home blacked out. He handled the charm, the excuses, the way he'd flash that dimpled smile and make teachers or bosses forgive whatever fresh hell he'd wrought. But those business cards? They were my Hail Mary. I'd finally bootstrapped LilaLink, an app for gig workers to track unfair employer practices, anonymous tips, blockchain-secured evidence. The works. It was born from the gig hell I'd endured, door-dashing through blizzards for pennies, coding side hustles while landlords hiked rent faster than I could code and escape. I printed 50 cards on cheap stock from Staples, embossed with Lila Voss, founder and CEO, in that bold sans-serif font that screamed, "I'm here to disrupt." Ethan found them on the kitchen counter one evening, fresh from my printer, and lost his shit laughing. CEO? Of what? Your cat's fan club. He'd waved one like a white flag of surrender, his buddies from the bar howling along on speakerphone. Lila. Sweetheart. This is adorable. Like if Etsy hooked up with a pyramid scheme. Stick to debugging other people's trash. You're not cut out for the big leagues. His words landed like punches, but I swallowed them, because that's what sisters do. Or so I thought. What I didn't know then was that he'd already stolen the core algorithm from my laptop, synced it to his cloud while I was in the shower, tweaking it just enough to pitch as his own to Apex. By morning, he was gone to some off-site retreat, and I was left staring at my empty coffee mug, wondering why the bitterness tasted so familiar. Weeks later, when Apex announced their new Ethos Track platform, eerily similar to LilaLink, but with Ethan's name splashed across the press release, I felt the first crack in my spine. But proof? That came harder than pulling teeth from a Jersey cop. I confronted him over takeout lo mein in our cramped living room, the TV droning some Knicks game in the background. Ethan, this is my code. The geofencing, the tamper-proof logs, it's all there, word for word. He leaned back on the sagging couch, popping a shrimp into his mouth with those chopsticks he'd borrowed from a Chinatown dive years ago. His eyes, the same muddy brown as mine, flickered with that fake innocence he reserved for traffic stops. Come on, Lil. Great minds, right? You think every app with user reports is yours? Besides, you're the one who left your laptop open. Sloppy. He grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Look, I'll cut you in 10% of my bonus if it flies. Family discount. 10%. Like I was the side chick in my own story. I wanted to hurl the carton at his head, watch the sauce splatter like the blood money it was. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded, excused myself to the bathroom, and puked up the betrayal along with my dinner. That night, I started digging not just into his files, but into the family vault we'd both ignored since Dad's funeral. Dad's firm, Voss Builds, hadn't gone under because of bad luck. It was Ethan's screw-up. At 16, he'd skimmed client deposits for coke-fueled weekends in the Hamptons, fudged the books to cover it. I'd found the discrepancies when I was balancing the accounts at 17, post-Mom's death. And when the feds came knocking, Ethan begged me to take the hit, say it was my idea. My teenage rebellion. I did. Lied to the judge. Served 6 months in juvie while he got community service and a promising young man letter from his guidance counselor. The secret festered like an open wound, but blood's thicker than ink. Right? Or so the American dream sells you.
Now,
here was Ethan, recycling the same playbook on me. I couldn't let it slide this time. Not when Lila Link was my shot at redemption for Dad's ghost. For the girls like me grinding in the shadows of Manhattan's glass towers. So I played along, smiling through gritted teeth at his updates on Ethostrack's beta launch. Sounds killer, bro, I'd say, while in the dead of night, I rebuilt from scratch. New servers in a Virginia data center. Coders poached from Ethan's own LinkedIn network with anonymous offers. I funneled every freelance dime into it, sleeping 4 hours a night on a futon that smelled like stale ambition. Months blurred into a fever dream. Ethan got promoted, senior product manager, complete with a corner office and a girl named Tessa on his arm. Some influencer type with lips plumped like overripe peaches. He threw a party to celebrate, inviting the whole Apex crew to our place. I catered it myself, wings from the halal cart on the corner, cheap beer in red Solo cups, because that's what good sisters do. As they milled around, Ethan pulled me aside in the hallway, his breath hot with IPA.
See?
This is real success.
Lil.
Not your. Whatever. But hey, if you need a reference, I'm your guy. He clapped my shoulder, hard enough to bruise. I forced a laugh, but inside, the rage coiled like a spring in one of Dad's old jackhammers. That's when I decided revenge wasn't about burning it all down. It was about owning the ashes. I incorporated Lila Link quietly, under a Delaware shell, to dodge his prying eyes. Investors? I cold-emailed VCs from a burner account, pitching it as the whistleblower's shield for the gig economy. Bites came slow, too slow, but one fish hooked, a quiet fund run by a former SEC enforcer who'd lost his pension to a Wall Street pump and dump. I like the teeth in this, he emailed back. Make it bite harder. By spring 2020, as the world locked down and Ethan zoomed his way to boredom, I'd secured seed money. Enough to hire a skeleton crew, mostly immigrants like the ones Dad used to underpay, now coding from kitchen tables in Flushing. We relaunched as Vosguard, sleeker, meaner, with AI that flagged predatory contracts before you signed. Ethan noticed. Of course. Send a text. Heard you're playing startup.
Cute.
Don't quit your day job. I didn't reply. Instead, I leaked a white paper to TechCrunch, anonymized, highlighting how Ethostrack's innovations mirrored open-source repos I'd seeded years ago. The article dropped like a grenade. Apex's new tool, genius or ripoff. Comments exploded, Steal from Sisters trended for a hot minute on Twitter. Ethan called. Voice tight as a noose. What the fuck? Lila? You trying to tank me? Just karma?
Ethan. You taught me that.
I hung up, heart pounding like bass at a Bushwick rave. But he wasn't done scheming. 2 weeks later, he showed up at my door with flowers, roses, the cheap kind from the bodega, and tears in his eyes.
Lil.
I fucked up. Tessa left me, said I'm toxic, and the board sniffing around the code origins. Help me out? For old times? He looked so small, like the kid who'd hidden under the covers during thunderstorms. I let him in, poured him whiskey, Dad's old bottle, half empty, and listened as he spilled how he'd exaggerated the app's metrics to land the gig, how Apex was auditing now, how if it unraveled,
He'd lose everything. Pity? Yeah. It gnawed at me.
but so did the scar on my record from juvie. The way job apps ghosted me because of prior discrepancies. I nodded, promised to vouch for him, plant a fake trail saying I'd consulted on Ethos Track. In return, he swore to credit me publicly, dissolve the IP overlap. We shook on it. Pinky swear like when we were kids promising not to tell about Dad's accidents on sites. Liar. By week's end, he twisted it, emailed the board my confession, framing me as the jealous sibling trying to sabotage his rise. Apex's lawyers circled like sharks in a chummed Hudson. My seed investor pulled out, citing reputational risk. Vosgard teetered, my crew scattering like roaches at dawn. Ethan texted, sorry.
Sis. Dog eat dog.
That was the snap. No more games. I lawyered up, pro bono from a legal age shark who'd clawed her way out of the Bronx, and countersued for IP theft. Evidence? I'd mirrored his cloud ages ago. Timestamps glaring like neon in Times Square. But the real bomb was the flash drive, not just my app, but Dad's old ledgers. Digitized, showing Ethan's juvenile fingerprints all over the fraud. I'd held it back. A nuclear option. Now, detonation imminent. As lockdown eased into that weird 2021 summer of masks and mandates, I rebuilt Vosgard in stealth. New name, Apex Echo, ironic, right? A mirror to their sins. I poached Ethan's lead dev with a fat offer and a NDA thicker than a Big Mac. Whispers spread in tech Slack channels, Apex's got a ghost competitor. Codes identical, but better. Ethan spiraled, drinking harder, ghosting calls. Tessa posting cryptic stories about toxic exes. The invite came in September, Apex's annual summit at the Javits Center. Black ties schmooze fest for VCs and suits. Ethan, desperate for a win, begged me to attend as his +1, play the supportive sis to charm investors. One night. Lil. Then we're square. I agreed, slipping into a thrift store gown that hugged like armor. As I stepped into the ballroom, chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold, I spotted him across the room, haggard. Ty Askew, laughing too loud at some XX joke. Little did he know, I'd bought Apex's debt the week before. Through a shell funded by that SEC ghost and a syndicate of gig workers I'd empowered, crowdfunded revenge. Baby. Their CEO, a silver-haired shark named Harlan Graves, owed me now. And as the keynote loomed, he took the stage, mic gleaming, and uttered the words that shattered Ethan's world. Ladies and gentlemen, before we dive in, allow me to introduce our new majority stakeholder, the visionary behind Apex Echo, the platform that's about to redefine us. Everyone, Meet Lila Voss, the owner. The room erupted, claps, gasps. Ethan's face draining to chalk as eyes swiveled to me. I stood, chin high, business card in hand, not the mocked one, but gold embossed. Vosgard rising from the grave. Ethan lunged forward. But security, my security now, held him back. You bitch, he hissed. Close enough for only me to hear. This isn't over.
Oh.
Brother. It was just beginning. The fallout from that Javits moment hit like a nor'easter off the Atlantic, swift, brutal, and leaving wreckage in its wake. By Monday morning, my inbox was a war zone. Congrats from strangers who'd seen the viral clip on LinkedIn. Death threats from Ethan's bro dudes calling me a backstabbing thought, and a cease and desist from Apex's old guard, now scrambling to save their pensions. Harlan Graves called me personally from his Hamptons retreat, voice smooth as aged bourbon. Lila.
Kid.
You play dirty. I respect it. But Ethan's howling for blood, says you'll tank the merger if we don't ice him out. Ice him out? That was the plan.
All right.
But not before I made him feel the chill. Ethan showed up at my new office, a converted loft in Dumbo, with views of the Brooklyn Bridge that screamed, I've arrived, pounding on the frosted glass door like a repo man. I buzzed him up, casual as a coffee run, while my assistant, Maria, a fierce Dominican coder I'd hired from the Bronx, eyed him like yesterday's trash. You think this is funny? He burst in, face red as a Mets pennant, slamming a crumpled Times article on my desk. Sibling showdown. Tech heir ousted by sister's stealth buyout. You bought the company? With what? Your lemonade money? This is fraud. Lila. I'll bury you like Dad.
Dad.
The word hung there. A guillotine blade. I leaned back in my ergonomic chair, perk of ownership, and lit a cigarette. The one vice I'd picked up in juvie to drown the screams of girls fighting over commissary smokes. Bury me? Like you buried those ledgers? Or the app code you jacked while I was bankrolling your frat boy phase? I exhaled smoke toward the ceiling, watching it curl like his lies.
Sit.
We talk terms, or I leak the drive. Your call. He sat, but not before knocking over a stack of my new cards, Vosgard. Matte black, with a QR code linking to whistleblower testimonials. The irony wasn't lost. He stared at them like they were voodoo dolls. What spilled out over the next hour was a confessional purge. Ethan style. Half sob story, half scheme. Turns out, Tessa hadn't just left. She'd cleaned him out, maxing his Amex on Botox and Birkins before ghosting to LA with his best friend from college. Apex's board was fracturing. Whispers of a hostile takeover from a Chinese conglomerate that'd turn it into a data mill for knockoff iPhones. And me? I was the wild card. The sister scorned holding the veto. I'll fix it, he pleaded, eyes darting like a cornered rat. Give me the CSO gig, Chief Security Officer. I know the code inside out. We rebrand Ethos Track under Vosgard. Credit you retro. Family empire.
Lil.
Like Dad always wanted. Dad wanted a lot of things. A clean ledger, a sober son, a daughter who didn't rot in lockup for his fuck-ups. But empires? That's the myth we New Yorkers chase. Brick by blood-soaked brick. I pretended to mull it, scrolling my phone, texts from investors piling up, offers to scale Vosgard nationwide. One condition, I said finally. Public mea culpa. Press conference. Tomorrow. Admit the theft. The frame job on Dad. Apologize on camera. His laugh was bitter, like bad diner hash. You're kidding. That'd kill me, reputation in the toilet. No more networks. No more anything. He stood, pacing the exposed brick walls, shadows playing tricks on his hollow cheeks. What's your angle here? Really? This isn't just payback.
You're
broken. Lila. Juvie did that. Or Mom. Admit it. You need me as much as I need you.
broken.
The word stung. A fresh cut on old scar tissue. Nights in that cell. Concrete floor leaching cold into my bones. I'd replayed it all. Signing the plea deal. Ethan's grateful hug afterward. You're the strong one. Sis, while he aced AP Calc and I learned to shank a spoon. But need him?
Nah.
I'd outgrown that codependency like a bad tattoo. Still, doubt wormed in. The kind that keeps you up watching true crime docs, wondering if the killer's sister knew all along. Fine. I relented, stubbing the cig. No pressure. But you work under me, probationary. One slip, and the drive goes to the DA. Deal. He grabbed my hand like a lifeline, pumping it with that salesman vigor.
Deal.
Boss guard's gonna crush it. As he left, whistling down the stairs, Maria shot me a side eye from her desk.
Mia.
That boy's a snake in loafers. You sure? Sure?
Hell no.
But mercy's the American way. Forgive the fucker. Build the sequel. Or so I told myself as I greenlit the integration. Ethos track folded into Vosgard. Ethan's team absorbed. His code scrubbed clean. The merger announcement dropped like a mic at a rap battle. Voss siblings reunite to revolutionize worker rights. Pundits ate it up. Forbes called it the ultimate redemption arc, ignoring the knives in the dark. For a month, it hummed. Ethan showed up early, cracking jokes in stand-ups. Even bought Maria empanadas from that spot in Washington Heights. Revenue ticked up, gig platforms licensing our tools to dodge lawsuits, unions plugging us in newsletters. I almost believed the fairy tale, Lila and Ethan, conquering Manhattan from our Dumbo perch, toasting with rooftop IPAs as the sun dipped behind Lady Liberty. Then the flip started. Subtle at first, Ethan accidentally CCing competitors on beta code, claiming fat fingers. Delays in audits. His sign-off mysteriously missing. Whispers from the dev floor. Ethan's pitching side gigs. RIP to startups in Silicon Alley. I called him on it over lunch at Peter Luger, Steakhouse Ritual. Blood rare like our bond. What's the play? Ethan? Sabotage from the inside. He sliced his porterhouse with surgical calm. Paranoia doesn't suit you.
CO.
Just networking. Apex echoes hot. Everyone wants a piece. But his eyes lied, flicking to the door like an exit strategy. That night, I swept my office for bugs, found none. But paranoia's a bitch in the city that never sleeps. Sleep? I traded it for caffeine and cat naps, monitoring logs till my eyes burned like cheap tequila. The real gut punch came mid-November. Frost painting the East River bridges white. A whistleblower tip hit our hotline anonymous. Routed through Tor. Ethan Voss selling Vosgard Alpha to Apex's rivals. Proof attached. The files? Screenshots of emails. His signature bold as brass. Hawking our AI core for 7 figures to a VC firm in Austin. The buyer? Harlan Graves. Moonlighting post-buyout. Scheming a coup to reclaim his throne. Rage boiled over. Hot as radiator steam in winter. I confronted Ethan in the server room, humming with blue LEDs like a sci-fi fever dream. Traitor, I spat, shoving the printouts at his chest. You flipped again. For what? A bigger office? Graves' pat on the head. He didn't flinch. Just crossed his arms over that Apex hoodie he'd never ditched. Survival. Lila. You think this gig economy savior crap pays forever? Graves offered stability, real money. Not your Robin Hood wet dream. His lip curled. The boy from Queens peeking through. And let's not pretend you're saintly. Buying the debt. That was insider trading light. We're the same. Sis. Hustlers in a rigged game. Same?
No.
I'd borne his sins. He just multiplied them.
Out. Now.
Before I call the cops. Security escorted him, his curses echoing down the stairwell. But as the door clicked shut, doubt crept back. Was he right? My revenge, buying Apex, ousting him, had it poisoned the well? Vosgard's stock dipped on the news leak. Partners pulling back like I was toxic waste. I doubled down, dark and tense as a blackout. Hired PIs, ex-NYPD, the kind who tailed mob wives for fun to tail Ethan. Turns out, he wasn't just scheming with Graves. He dug up dirt on me too. Juvie Records. Embellished. Lila Voss, leader of Inmate Shakedown Ring. Planted stories hit Reddit. r/tech bros calling for my head. Sleepless. I'd pace my Bushwick walk up. Dumbo was too exposed now, staring at the L train rumbling past, wondering if jumping would end the cycle or just bruise my ass. Twist came courtesy of Maria. She'd hacked Ethan's phone. Ethical gray. But family first. Voicemails from Tessa. Babe. Lila's bluffing. Hit her where it hurts. Dad's truth. The overdose was an accident. She pushed him. Lies. All of it. I'd found Dad's note that night. Pills scattered like confetti. Blaming the feds. The debts. Ethan's wild phase. But Ethan had burned it. Convinced me to call it suicide to shield him from manslaughter whispers. The lie spread like flu in the subway. By December, as Christmas lights twinkled mockingly on Bedford Avenue, Vosgard's board, mostly old white dudes in chinos, summoned me. Lila. The optics. Ethan's narrative's gaining traction. Step down. Or we do. Step down? After clawing from nothing? Fuck that. So I flipped the script. Controversial as hell. Leaked the drive, not to cops, but to 60 Minutes. Ethan's juvenile fraud. My juvie sacrifice. The app theft all out. Raw as a street fight. The segment aired Christmas Eve. Blood money. A sister's revenge in tech's underbelly. Views exploded. Millions. Debates raging on CNN panels about family loyalty versus corporate greed. Ethan went dark. Radio silent. But Graves surfaced, offering a truce. Merge back. Split equity 60-40 his way. Bury the hatchet. I met him at a neutral spot. Ryan's daughter. That dive on the Lower East Side where hipsters nurse $15 whiskeys. He slid across from me, cologne cutting the stale air like a knife. Lila, you're a force. But this feud, it's killing us both. Ethan's my canary, singing your sins. Walk away rich.
Rich.
The word dangled like fool's gold. But as I sipped my Jameson, phone buzzing with bored ultimatums, I saw the trap. Mercy again, chaining me to their rot.
No.
Time for the climax, the polarizing gut shot that'd split the world into camps. Deal. I lied, clinking glasses. But en route home, I wired the kill switch, Vosgard's AI. Rigged to expose every dirty contract in Apex's history, wage thefts, NDAs silencing assaults, Ethan's side hustles timestamped. It dropped at midnight. New Year's Eve. As fireworks cracked over the harbor, Vasleak. A torrent of truth flooding servers worldwide. The internet ignited. Allies hailed me as Avenger, gig forums toasting Queen Lila, while detractors screamed witch hunt, doxing my address with "Betray Your Blood" manifestos. Ethan called at 2 a.m. Voice shattered glass. You destroyed everything. Happy now. Not happy.
Hollow.
As sirens wailed outside, echoing my fracturing soul, I wondered, was this justice? Or just vengeance's echo? The Vasleak detonated like a dirty bomb in Times Square, shrapnel of scandals shredding reputations. Lawsuits blooming faster than food trucks on a heatwave day. By New Year's morning, Vosguard servers were melting under DDoS attacks from Ethan's hacker buddies. While my notifications screamed a symphony of chaos, death threats from MAGA trolls who'd latched onto the family betrayal angle. Olive branches from Elizabeth Warren's staff pitching Senate testimony. And a single voicemail from Ethan. Timestamped 3:47 a.m. Lila. It's done.
Come home.
Please. Home. That word twisted like a knife in the gut, conjuring the Queen's duplex with its peeling wallpaper and ghosts in the grout. I didn't go. Instead, I hunkered in a midtown Airbnb, anonymous. Paid in crypto, plotting the endgame while Maria fielded the firestorm from a burner laptop in her aunt's bodega. The leak had polarized everything. Progressives crown me the gig economy Joan of Arc. Fighting the man with code, conservatives decried me as a woke destroyer of American families. Fox News looping Ethan's teary interview where he sobbed about a sister's unforgivable stab in the back. Comments sections were bloodbaths. She deserved juvie. Look at her now. Versus. Ethan's the real criminal. Blood doesn't buy absolution. Harlan Graves moved fast. The old fox. By the second, he filed for emergency injunction, claiming the leak violated SEC regs, painting me as the reckless insider who'd tanked Apex's valuation overnight. Shares plummeted 40%, pink slips flying like confetti at a funeral. He called again, this time from a war room in his Upper East Side penthouse. Voice gravel over silk. Lila, you've got balls. I'll give you that. But end this. I wire you 10 mil. You sign an NDA thicker than the Bible. Ethan's collateral, I'll bury him myself. 10 mil. Enough to vanish to Portland. Start over with a food truck slinging ethical tacos. Tempting? In the witching hours when doubt clawed my throat raw. But Ethan's come home echoed. A siren's call. What if he meant it? What if, in the rubble, we could rebuild, not empire, but something human? I ghosted Graves. Instead texting Maria, find Ethan. GPS his phone. She did better, traced him to a Fleabag motel in Jersey City, the kind with hourly rates and roaches the size of fists. I drove out at dusk. The turnpike a gray ribbon under sodium lights. My beat-up Civic rattling like my nerves. The desk clerk, a Pakistani guy with a mustache like a broom, pocketed my 20 and pointed to room 12. Door ajar. TV murmuring infomercials. Ethan sprawled on the bed, empty fifth of Jack beside him. Eyes hollow as the Hudson at low tide. You came. He didn't sit up. Just stared at the water-stained ceiling. Thought you'd let me rot. I shut the door, leaning against it like it could hold back the storm. Rot? That's your brand.
Ethan.
But yeah, I came. For answers.
Why?
After everything, the merger, the promises, why flip again? He laughed. A wet hack that dissolved into coughs.
Propped on elbows.
Shirt untucked. He looked like Dad in his last mugshot. Defeated. Defiant. Because you're poison. Lila. Always have been. Taking the fall for me? That wasn't love, that was control. Look at me. The martyr sis. And Vosgard? It's not about workers. It's your revenge porn. Lording over me like Mom did Dad. He swigged from the bottle, wiping his mouth with a tattooed forearm, some frat pledge ink. Faded now. Graves promised erasure. New ID. Clean slate. No more Voss curse.
Curse. Yeah.
That tracked. Our bloodline was a litany of fuck-ups. Grandpa Voss. Bootlegger turned snitch in the 70s, Dad. Skimming sites till the bottle skimmed him off the map. But me? Poison? The accusation landed. Festering. I justified every cut, the buyout, the leak, as justice. But in this neon-lit tomb, it reeked of spite. And the lies about Dad? Tessa feeding you that I pushed him. He shrugged, evasive as a politician. Doesn't matter. He was gonna off himself anyway. You just sped it. Lie or truth. His eyes skittered, but grief cracked his voice. I loved him.
Lil.
More than you know. But you're the survivor. Cold as a shark. Shark. Fitting. In a city of them. I sank onto the sagging chair, the room closing in like a vice.
Outside.
Semis thundered past, horns blaring New Year's regrets. What now?
Then?
Graves' offer? Run. He sat up fully, bottle dangling. Or we team up. One last con. Leak Graves countered his offshore accounts. The bribes to feds for Apex's clean bill. We split the spoils. Disappear. Brother-sister Bonnie and Clyde. The pitch hung. Seductive in its madness. Controversial as hell. Expose the exposer. Burn the boardroom to ash. Polarizing. Heroes to the underclass. Felons to the suits. My pulse raced. Visions flashing. Private jet to Belize. Ethan sober in AA. Me coding open source from a hammock. But the drive in my pocket burned. Dad's ledgers. Ethan's fraud digitized eternal. Hand it over. And we'd own the narrative. Hold it. And I'd own him forever. Deal. I whispered. The word ash on my tongue. We plotted till dawn. Fake trails to launder the leak. Proxies to drop the bombshell on WikiLeaks. As the sun clawed over the meadowlands, Ethan pulled me into a hug fierce. Like kids under the covers. We're Vosses. Unbreakable. Unbreakable. The lie we lived by. I drove back to the city, his goodbye kiss lingering like smoke. But mercy? I'd learned its cost. At the Airbnb, I uploaded the drive not to him, but to the feds. Anonymized with a note. Full circle. Ethan's prints. Fresh from the motel Cam Maria hacked. Tied to new fraud, skimming Vosgard remnants for Graves' escape fund. The twist hit that afternoon. Sirens at his door. Ethan cuffed on live TV. Screaming my name as they dragged him to the van. Lila, you promised. Graves folded like origami. Spilling to avoid the same ride. Vosgard? Nationalized hero. Congress probing tech titans. My board reinstating me with a fat bonus and a TED Talk slot. Happy ending? On paper.
Yeah.
I stood on the Javits stage months later. June's sun gilding the Hudson. Keynoting to a sea of applauding faces, diverse now. Gig workers in the front row.
Suits him back.
Revenge isn't justice, I said, voice steady as the Brooklyn Bridge. But truth? That's the real disruptor. Claps thundered. But in the wings, Maria squeezed my hand, whispering, "You did right."
Mia.
Or close enough.
Bikik.
Though, it lingered in the empty duplex I sold that spring. Echoes of Ethan's laugh over those cards. He wrote from Rikers, probation violation. 5 years minimum, pages of rage and regret. You won.
Sis.
But at what cost? We're both ghosts now. I burned them in the backyard fire pit, ashes scattering on the wind toward Manhattan's spires. No one's fully right. No one's fully wrong. That's the American hustle. Win the war. Lose the family. As I pocket a fresh business card, Lila Voss, architect of truth, and step into the skyline shadow, I wonder, would I do it again? For Dad's ghost. For the girls grinding unseen? Hell yes. But for Ethan, the brother who mocked, stole, flipped? That's the debate that'll haunt me till the lights go out.